Thank you, Kiki, for that very nice introduction, and Miss Kathy and everybody for your words. And I want to again acknowledge my colleagues. Councilman Chris Hines is here from District 10 and Councilwoman Seda Baca. I want to congratulate everyone and the other speakers. You all have lived through this process and you've described the impacts really quickly. So I thought I would tell you a little bit more of the story of how we got here, how we won participatory budgeting, and celebrate 3 gifts that I think come from what we learned and that we can carry forward. So participatory budgeting began in Brazil in the 80s, and I was inspired to bring PB to Denver from 2 colleagues that were doing it in the city of Chicago and in New York, and they were doing it with district budgets to invest capital dollars in their districts in those cities. I was really intrigued, but we do not have district budgets for capital dollars in Denver. We just have one big central budget. And if you were around in Denver in 2012, I'd like you to nod along if you remember what our budget was like then. But libraries were closed a couple days a week. City employees had furloughs. There was no extra money to invest in any process in 2012 when I was elected. So I was intrigued, but there was no conversation to be had. So I put the idea away. And the first gift our city and our community can take from Let's Budget Denver is to hold on to your dream. Don't give it up, okay? With a voter fix in 2012, Denver's budget improved and PB was on my radar, but there was another priority that Denver had to do first, and that was dedicated funding for affordable housing. So we actually passed Denver's first affordable housing fund in 2016, and then I hosted Denver City Council's first briefing on PB in 2017. Okay, so there I was holding on to that dream. And I'm not quite to my introduction of the mayor yet, but this is something that intertwines our 12 years in office, and which is that both the Housing Fund and the PB are examples of this, which is Denver faces a challenge to take on something the city has never done before. And then there's something really compelling in our community that really has circumstances compelling us to take it on. And then we have to think with our community to act in new ways and force the city to do something we've never done before. We collaborate with the community, and PB is an example of that. So the dialogue continues for the next few years, and during that time, an organization called Warm Cookies of the Revolution pilots PB and proves it in the community. Do we have anyone from Warm Cookies here? I think I saw Rashawn. Is Evan there? All right, well, let's give them a warm hand. So they pioneered this out in the community. And then I want to talk about what happens, which is that the second, the breakthrough for finally adopting PB in the city of Denver comes because the city is focused on racial equity. We were training city leadership and deepening our understanding that equity means processes actually have to be redesigned and done differently if you want to have new and different people engaging in government than those who've engaged in the past. You actually can't just keep having the same kind of thing and expect different people to show up, right? And so when we were trying to have this conversation before this, I'm just gonna be honest, it was stuck because people kept thinking we were talking about money. Right? They would be stuck on talking about which money we were going to use and who's supposed to make which decisions about which money. And really, the equity conversation allowed us to break through all that because the heart of what we were talking about was people. And the heart of this process and the conversation we were trying to have was about the people. And yes, the projects were going to be worthy of our investments, of our public dollars, because you know your communities, and the process was going to empower you with the information you needed to make really wise decisions, right? And that's how it worked. And so that's how we got the buy-in for success. And I want to just say something. The buy-in was really important. If council had just forced some vote on this, you would not have had a successful process because 2 years required a lot of staff. It required a lot of work on the ground, and you had to have this buy-in for the success to really work. And so the second gift to our community from PB and that our community can take from Let's Budget Denver is that shared values are the basis of common ground, right? That's the second gift of Let's Budget Denver. But of course, there were still challenges. Now, $2 million was worth a lot more before the pandemic and before the last couple years, wasn't it? But even then, let's be honest, it was still a pretty modest amount of money, and the city is big, and we knew that some neighborhoods were not going to get projects from this. We knew that. But I want to use a comparison. I mentioned the Affordable Housing Fund a couple minutes ago. We launched the Affordable Housing Fund, and we couldn't fund it with enough money to help every person who needed help with affordable housing. And some people said, well, you shouldn't even do it then. If you can't fund everything, why bother? But we built it anyway. And just 2 years after we built it, we doubled the fund. And then we went on to do renter assistance programs and other programs. And then lo and behold, the pandemic came and hundreds of millions of dollars of federal dollars came into the city. And guess what? We had a fund ready to go. We had programs ready to go. And because it was built, we used that foundation and we were ready to spring into action. And PB is the exact same. Together, we all built and created Let's Budget Denver. It lives. It started with 9 projects, but already it has funding and staff for a late 2023 project to fund the West Area Plan, a process for participatory budgeting. Now, we could launch a much bigger and bolder citywide PB project in 2024. We can do that. We can build on the foundation you've built. So what's the third gift? The third gift of our city community can take from Let's Budget Denver is that every win matters because you can grow and build on it, right? These projects matter and you can grow and build on them. So each of these gifts is echoed in the processes itself that you guys talked about. The hope. Raise your hand if you had to keep hope alive for a project as you proposed and advocated for it in this process, right? Did one of you have to keep hope alive as you went through this? I think maybe a few of you. Roshan did. Roshan had to keep hope alive. Common ground. Raise your hand if you had to find some common ground in writing a rule book, in going through a process, right, to narrow down projects. And every win matters. These are 9 projects, but they matter. Right? Phyllis talked about the sidewalk mattering. Kathy talked about the garden mattering, right? Thank you to each of you. It's now my honor to introduce, I wanted to say one more thing. You all are a gift as well. You're a gift to your city. You are a gift to your communities. And I want to say too that you are a gift to me. It's been a gift to serve as your council member, right? It's been a gift to watch this process come to life and to prove not that it was perfect or easy. There are many things we learned. There's many things we want to improve. Your feedback is really important, but it's been a gift to see what it's meant to you all. And I know that it's been a gift for my colleagues as well. I want to thank my colleagues. The City Council gave its support and trust in trying this and coming along, and that has been a gift. So thank you for the gift that it's been for me to be a part of it with you. Forgot to say that, and it's a gift for me as well. Now it's my honor to introduce Mayor Michael Hancock. He committed his administration to dig into racial equity and re-examine our budget work through that lens that got us to the point of taking this on. He was willing to rethink the historical role of the city and the role of the community, and was willing to have his team work with me and others to figure out this messy, difficult, detail-oriented thing, and to do things in new ways and to help to implement participatory budgeting. For all those reasons, I too want to thank you, Mayor, and I want to invite you up to share your words of celebration with our community. Thank you.
Thank you all. Councilwoman Kniech, please don't sit down yet. I got to say this, and I want this room to hear this. There have been moments where I've had a chance to celebrate Councilwoman Kniech, and I mean this with all sincerity. In the 12 years that I've been mayor of the city, 20 years in the city as an elected official, there has not been a more effective member of City Council than Robin Kniech. I, and I say this, and I have the data to back it up. I want y'all to listen to me when I say this. Um, Oftentimes, I used to be a strategic planning manager, worked all over the country helping cities go through strategic plans. And there was an example that we would use to inspire the community through their strategic plan. We used to say, be the pebble that is dropped in a pond that creates a ripple effect across the city. And Councilwoman Kniech has been that pebble that has been dropped into the pond, City Council, in governance, that has created a ripple effect across the city. Together, she and I have collaborated, my administration and Councilwoman Kniech, to do things, nothing large, but lead the nation in changing minimum wage. Today, people in Denver make more money through minimum wage than any city in the state of Colorado. Robin Kniech. The housing fund that she referenced is due to Robin Kniech coming forward saying we need to have a dedicated source of funding to help people access decent, safe, and affordable housing. The pebble in the pond. Workers' rights. Tonight, as she prepares to leave as I do on July 17th at 10:30 a.m., I don't want people to forget the work that Robin Kniech has done while she was on City Council. She didn't just take the title and sit idle. She collaborated with people. She worked across lines. We didn't always agree how we got there, but we got there because she was willing to collaborate, willing at times to concede, willing at times to push harder. She made me a better mayor because she forced me out of my comfort zone. And tonight we celebrate an effort that, Ms. Kathy, thank you for giving me the credit, but I want to give the credit to where it's truly due, and that is Robin Kniech. When she first brought the idea, my administration said they want to do participatory budgeting, which I was familiar with. I had a lot of questions and concerns, but she didn't stop, and she kept moving forward and continuing to press and said we can do it and we can get through these concerns. So, Robin, while you stand here, I think this room owes you a great deal of gratitude for all, not only just for the participatory budgeting, but for minimum wage increase and for housing and for worker rights and for standing the gap for the most vulnerable in our city. Would y'all join me on your feet to thank Councilwoman Robin Kniech? Thank you. Thank you so much.